Hey everybody, it's Chris Sims from ComicsAlliance.com here in my new office, and this is Here's the Thing. And this week, I've got a question about something that I like from Jonathan Miller, who asks, why do you love Destro so much? I'm curious about where this affection came from. Do you guys really think that I love Destro that much? I mean, I haven't really thought about it, but I mean, is it because my Twitter icon has been Destro for the past 6 years? Is it because I've got the framed picture of Destro back there in my office? Next to the custom plush doll of Destro? And the other custom plush doll of Destro? Is it because I'm holding Destro right now? Huh. Yeah, I guess I like the guy. I like the guy a lot. And it's weird for me, because normally I'm really uncomfortable with the idea of romanticizing villains. I like villains a lot. I mean, I love Dr. Doom. I love the Joker. But I like them as villains. I don't think of them as sympathetic characters that you can really relate to or like a lot on their own merits. In fact, I'm usually really uncomfortable with the idea of creators and fans especially trying to romanticize or make villains more relatable. Particularly with the Joker. Like, I think he works really well as just a super evil foil for Batman. I don't really think you have to understand the Joker's mindset. I mean, it's great if you can, but I don't think you need to. And I especially don't think that there's anything that you can do to humanize him. Like, you should never really be able to relate to that guy. Dr. Doom, I think, is similar. I think Dr. Doom's big trick is that he makes you think you can relate to him, but you really can't. Dr. Doom has all these pretenses of nobility, all this stuff about how he's the true leader of the world, but he's really not. Like, the famous Mark Waid quote about Dr. Doom is that he would bite a baby's head off like an apple if he thought it could get back at Reed Richards somehow. The thing is, Dr. Doom acts like a noble man and tells you he's a noble man while he's stabbing you in the back, so a lot of people kind of buy into it. But this guy's a little different. Now, my affection for G.I. Joe mostly comes from the cartoon. I love the comics a lot, but what I really, really love about G.I. Joe is the cartoon and the way that it's set up, particularly when it comes to Cobra Commander, who's also back there. The Cobra Commander of the cartoon is so great, and I love the way he works. And I love the idea of G.I. Joe, the real American hero, which is that there's this guy, this snake-themed terrorist, essentially, but he has the weirdest and most bizarre plots for world domination that anyone has ever had. None of them should work, but they work so well that they had to get the best people in the military and make a new special branch to fight him. They had to get the best army guy, the best navy guy, the best marines, a ninja. They had to get multiple ninjas just to foil the plans of this guy who wants to take over the world with nuclear fast food restaurants and mind control chewing gum, because it almost works every time. And that's Cobra Commander. And he's the kind of centerpiece. But as you can see on the wall there, if you can make out all three pictures, he's only a third of what really makes the villains of G.I. Joe work. Destro and the Baroness are the other half. Or the other two-thirds, I should say. And Destro is the most interesting of those characters. Cobra Commander is great. And the trick about Cobra Commander that the creators of the show, the writers of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, said was that they finally got a handle on his character when they stopped thinking of him as Hitler and started thinking of him as Yosemite Sam. And Destro is the guy who has signed up to work for that dude. And that's perfect. That's brilliant. Destro is a guy who designs weapons, but he designs weapons that are really weird. If you look at the G.I. Joe toys, the Joes get the tanks and dune buggies and motorcycles with chain guns on the side. They get stuff that's really not necessarily practical, because you don't usually see the army riding around in a dune buggy, but they get cool military-ish stuff. They get, the Mobat, the Awe-Striker. All that works. The plane that I had, that I can't remember the name of. Sky Striker? Was it Sky Striker? That might be a Transformer. I don't know. But they all get military stuff, right? Cobra gets weird stuff. Cobra gets the Hiss tank, which is a tank where the main feature of it is that right under the guns, there's a glass canopy, and you can see the guy driving the tank. Have you ever seen a tank? Have you ever looked at one? Because we have a National Guard Armory and an Air Force base in this town. So every now and then, on the 4th of July or Memorial Day, they'll bring out the tanks and planes, and you can go see them. So I've seen a tank. And I can tell you, they do not make the tank driver visible. They do not put him behind glass. And there's a very good reason for that, because you would die immediately. You would immediately die if you did that. Unless the enemy you were fighting were shooting over your head with red lasers. Now, they get the trouble bubble, which is the bubble that you sit in, and it just has jets on it. It's like a jetpack that you sit in instead of wear. They get hang gliders. They get pontoon boats and hovercrafts. They get stuff that's really weird. And the key part of that is that Destro designs their weapons. Destro designs all their vehicles. You know, Mars, the Military Armament Research Syndicate, which is Destro's family business, the McCullen family of weaponry suppliers that dates back to when he was selling weapons to both sides. James McCullen Destro the First. Our current Destro, this guy here. This is James McCullen Destro the 24th. All of that stuff makes Destro a really interesting character, because you see his aesthetic. You see how he wants to fight a war. And it's not that he wants to fight a war with efficiency or stuff that's effective. He wants to fight a war with stuff that looks cool. And you don't even have to look any further than Destro himself to see that. I've got the Mighty Mugs here, but I have plenty of Destro action figures. And they all have that sweet, high-collar, bare chest medallion. That dude goes into battle with his leather jumpsuit unzipped to his navel, and grenades and missiles on his wrist. And that's awesome. I love that Destro has wrist missiles. He doesn't really even... I mean, he comes with a gun, but why would you even need it? He's got that fist that you can shoot missiles off of. Now, all that's really cool about Destro himself. And again, there's the mask. Because how cool is it that he has the polished beryllium steel head? The symbol of his either his family's punishment for betraying both sides of the war that they were selling weapons to, or his punishment for witchcraft and having a Cthulhu monster in his basement, if you watch the cartoon. And that, that it's his face, that it's a helmet that's also his face, and then he has a castle that's a transformer. The Silent Castle becomes a transformer later on. It turns into a different castle and has giant tank treads, if you read the comics. Everything about that dude is great. The Iron Grenadiers, his henchmen, their designs are awesome. But he signed up with Cobra Commander. Now, Destro's in it for the money, obviously. I think Destro's an interesting character because he's not necessarily an evil guy. He's just completely amoral and only in it for the money. He's a mercenary. He is willing to sell weapons to both sides of a conflict. He has no personal investment in it. If the Joes win and the Cobras win, that doesn't really matter to Destro, because he has already been paid. The only thing that matters to Destro is that if the Joes win, then he doesn't get to keep selling weapons and making money, and he will probably get arrested and thrown in jail. That's what Destro cares about. So he's got these tanks with glass fronts. He's got these hang gliders. And the only person weird enough, the only person ridiculous enough to pay him a lot of money for these is Cobra Commander. Because Cobra Commander's not going to go into battle with a tank. Cobra Commander's not going to go into battle with, just a submarine. He needs a Night Raven. He needs a plane, an airplane shaped like a snake. Whether or not it's aerodynamic, whether or not it would work or be effective, that's what he needs. So those two dudes go together. And because of that, they're kind of stuck with each other. Now, Cobra Commander's evil. Cobra Commander's cartoonishly evil, in fact, in any form you want to have for him. Whether it's the Larry Hama comics, whether it's the cartoon, whether it's the movies. And to be honest, I think the one thing the live-action movies really screwed up on more than anything is they didn't get those three right. They didn't get the Cobra Trinity right. But Cobra Commander in that movie is still cartoonishly evil. And you can't really relate to him because of that. You can't really relate to a guy who wants to drop nukes on you from a McDonald's, which is essentially something that he did. But you can relate to the guy whose job it is to deal with that weird, evil, bonkers dude all the time. You can relate to the guy who just wants to do something cool, and nobody's going to let him do it. So he has to go to the one guy who will, and deal with that for the rest of his life. Now that may be a little more revealing about my employment history than I want it to be, but that is something that I identify with Destro. Plus he's super cool. He has rest missiles. So that is really why I like this guy. This has been another episode of Here's the Thing. If you've got a topic that you'd like to see me talk about or explore or explain, if you know that I like something and you want to hear me talk about why, just leave a comment at comicsalliance.com or send me a message on Twitter at the ISB, and be here next week for another episode of Here's the Thing. Thanks for watching, everybody.